Oh, there we go. It's a magnet. So, all right. Thank you guys for coming up and getting that jitter out of your body. I want to talk to you guys about the movies. I want you guys to introduce yourselves, your role in the movie, and what your movie's about. And yeah, just make sure this is the mic. It's a magnet.
Hello, my name is Carolyn Thomas. Mine was the last film to my daughter. My film is about, basically, I took my grandfather, he basically filmed a lot of short films in the 1960s, and I recreated a film adding sound.
Hi, my name is Madison Neujahr. My film was the making of the skateboard, and it's just, I was like the editor, and I also pitched the idea. And I just decided to make it because I feel like no one knows like the steps of making a skateboard. It's kind of not aesthetic, so I decided to try to make it aesthetic.
Hi, I'm Natalie Mahoney. My film was Cupcake. I was the writer and director of it. And the film was basically supposed to be kind of a parody on like camp version of fairy tale horror stories. So I was trying to make like a horror comedy for one of my class assignments where we had to make a 5-minute film with little to no dialogue.
Hi, my name is Lucia Peñaflor, and I am the choreographer, director, and editor of quién, espejo. My film is about identity trauma, which is a state of questioning your sense of self and validity due to past prejudicial experiences. My film is really about really investigating that state, and it's about healing and finding, basically reclaiming your sense of identity, both as an individual and as a community.
Hi, I'm Veronica Hein. I'm the writer and director of Elastic, and that film explores kind of where the limits and boundaries lie within very codependent friendships, especially when you're young. Especially when you're a young girl and feeling like somebody is your person, and yeah, where are the limits of that?
I'll just jump up and get that. Awesome, great answers. My next question would be, you guys talked about a little bit on the motivation behind some of your films and stuff like that. I wanted to know, what was the overall message or theme you guys wanted to get across with your projects? Because we all have different voices. All these movies were very different from each other. So yeah, talk a little bit more about the message or the theme you want people to take away.
Thank you. But first, it's kind of hard. I think the message and theme I wanted to take away was during the 1960s, it was a very painful moment to be alive, but at the same time, there's a lot of like happy things happening. Even though there's lots of like struggles, especially in Black communities, like people were still having children. They were still like meeting up together and like having family reunions. Like these things were still happening. I think I just wanted to highlight a story, like my story, but I guess it was from like some stories from like my grandfather, my mom, and my grandmother, just like showing them the fact that even though in these times of great struggle, like people were still loving each other and just like having fun and like still having families.
In my film, I kind of wanted to show the imperfections of skateboarding, because although it was like an aesthetic film, there was also like some moments where the wheel wasn't going on like aesthetically, and I kind of just used that to show that skateboarding is not like that easy. It could be hard at times.
Mine is very surface level because it's supposed to be a camp parody. It's literally just don't be a jerky turkey.
As a young girl, a first-generation American, born to a Mexican father and Argentinian mother, a lot of times I feel like people try to fit me into a box, and I feel like I had a lot of trouble, I guess, finding a community and finding my own sense of self, because we were like, don't speak Spanish, don't do this, don't do that, you should look a certain way, you should speak a certain way. And so growing up, I always felt like I had to limit myself and kind of put on this facade for everyone else to see, because that's what society told me to do. But as I got older, I realized, what's the point? Like, who am I if I'm not existing as myself? So I think the overall message that I want everyone to take away from my film is that that's a normal experience. And I feel like so many people go through that state of like, I don't know who I am and I can't find myself right now. But I think I wanted to share that and say that you're not alone. And I think finding and existing as your most authentic self is a form of liberation.
I feel like the film really just explores like this one slice of life moment where a young girl's like figuring out how to set a boundary with a friend. So I feel like when you're young and you're like in these close friendships with people, especially when you grow up in towns that are really isolated, like I grew up in the Midwest, so I feel like you own somebody in a sense, like this is your person in a sense, but the reality is that like they're their own individual, and where are the kind of limits of consent even, or just feeling like, yeah, like you have ownership over them. So that was kind of exploring just boundary setting and codependency.
Those were very great and diverse answers. Everybody had obviously very different experiences making this movie. Speaking of experiences, making this movie obviously, you know, it told a lot about who you guys are as storytellers. I'm sure you guys discovered a lot about yourselves. What do you think you guys are going to discover about yourself moving forward, you know, whether it's into new projects or just experiences in life? What's next for you guys?
I think what's next is I think I want to make more documentaries in the future. I think here I use a lot of found footage. I think I want to like create my own and like create some, like I'm in my early 20s. I live in New York now. I'm originally from Nashville. So I think I want to like make some films about like my recent life, like what's been going on. Like I've had an interesting first couple of years since I moved here. So I think I want to like tell some stories about that.
I think that I learned that I want to make more films about like my experiences, because I learned that by making that film it was kind of easier because I experienced like the things I was trying to like say throughout the film. And I also think like by making that film I want to start like learning more about cinematography, because that was like a very fun experimental thing I was doing during that film.
So I don't usually tend to dabble in like the horror comedy thing. I promise that's not all that I do. But moving forward, I'm actually starting pre-production on my master's thesis film, which is a queer coming-of-age drama about a young sapphic teenager who comes to a crossroads when she feels that she's manipulated into feeling that she must choose between her sexuality and her faith. So completely different genre from the film that was shown today, but I'm really excited to move forward with that.
This film is actually part of this project that I did for one of my classes. I'm a double major in media studies and dance. So this is kind of like part of the choreographic cycle that all dance majors have to go through, and this is kind of like our last almost kind of thesis project. And I didn't really know that I wanted to do a film. It just came like on a whim. I had trouble finding dancers. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I didn't want to do a live performance again. I think dance, you usually see it in the live setting, and I think it would have been, I thought it would be cool to do a film instead, and I'm really proud of the way it came out. It is my first film, so I'm really proud of everything that I accomplished with it. But I'm really interested in continuing to explore dance and film and the intersections of it, and I'm currently in my junior year, and in my senior year I will be doing another thesis capstone, and I really think I'd like to explore doing another dance film, but on a larger scale.
Yeah, I feel like going forward, shorts are like one of the hardest things to really master, so I feel like working on mastering that genre before writing like feature work. But just in general, creating with my friends, like I feel like all of the people around me are always doing such great and amazing creative projects, so just like being a part of those in any way. I just love making stuff with the people around me, so keeping on doing that. And I'm directing a music video coming up, which is fun. But yeah, just collaborating and writing stuff down that pops into my head.
Awesome.
I guess it's that.
Thank you. I'm going to ask one more question. We talked about your future, but I wanted to go just back a little bit to reflection. What's one thing you'd tell your past self before starting your projects? And you know, how you'd use that advice in your future projects. But yeah, imagine your past self is directly in front of you right now. Talk to them. What would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
Thank you. I think I would tell my past self to I think I like remade this like a bunch of times, and I kept on like remaking it and like redoing it. I still, even watching it now, I'm like, okay, I think I want to change that actually. So I think I'll tell my past self that you can always, like, don't feel like it's ever done, like nothing's ever done, but doesn't mean that you have to, like I shared it today even though I don't think it's done yet, I guess. So I think I would tell my past self that it will never actually fully be done, and it's also kind of fun to have a lot of different versions of the same thing. It's like almost like different little mini pieces of art.
I think I would definitely tell my past self to make a storyboard, because like the first like minute of that film or 30 seconds, I had a storyboard for the beginning, and then after it was really hard because I made this in school and we only get 2 periods, and most of the time goes to setting up, so we have like no time. So definitely make a storyboard because that helped a lot in the first beginning.
Oh no. Oh, that was
It's
probably
a magnet. It'll just connect stick in the back. Sorry about that.
like this, or
Let me see.
just got a slipper. Okay, there we go. I'd probably tell myself to slow down, because I'm the type of person that once I start beginning production on something, I'm like super fast. I want to get it done because I get so excited. But I think I would have told myself, slow down a little bit. You're getting way too ahead of yourself. Take your time with coverage, especially because there were some coverage shots that I was not the happiest with, because I think that I rushed through them too fast. So I think I would tell myself to slow down and just be a little bit more of an editor while I'm shooting as well, to kind of think about the end result rather than what's happening now.
I could definitely relate to like, I want to get everything done, not because I'm excited, but because I'm really anxious. But I definitely tell my past self, like, calm down, it's going to be okay, and to embrace the imperfections. Like, I had everything written out the way I wanted everything to go, and like some things didn't like match like what I had in my head, but I think so many things came out of it, and I was able to find new ways to incorporate different scenes and different cuts and edit things differently than I originally planned, that I think actually made my film better than what I originally written down. So I definitely feel like you're going to be okay, embrace the imperfections, and just go with the flow.
I feel like logistically I would have said don't do a travel shoot, but it is what it is, because I shot that back in Illinois. But just in terms of the shoot in general, I would say to enjoy the process of actually shooting a lot more. I feel like, because this was my thesis film, so I had so much pressure on it, like I feel like you feel like it's your end-all be-all, like whatever. Telling myself that it's not, and just to enjoy the process of creating it rather than wanting to skip to that end goal. Because the act of shooting it with everybody on set was so magical, and I wish I could live that back again. So like taking time to enjoy that more.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your very, very insightful answers. Obviously, I love how diverse this group is and how different all your movies are. It takes a lot to not only make a movie, but to share it. And you guys are all very courageous for that, so I thank you guys very much. One more time for our filmmakers, everybody. Thank you guys so much. I want to grab a photo of everybody here. So if you guys can just stand right here. One more round of applause, everybody.